the greatest of all time. Whether you value statistics, championships, or personal accolades, everyone has their GOATs. Regardless of who yours is at each position, they're about to be replaced by this current group of insanely talented NFL superstars. I don't think there's another era in the NFL where there's been so many players that have the ability to take over the throne as the greatest to ever play their position. Hear me out. I'll start with the most obvious one. I know Tom Brady just retired, but Patrick Mahomes is on a rocket ship to the top of the all-time quarterback rankings, regardless of what you value most in a career. The biggest reason for this is that Brady started out slow and steady, while Mahomes was shot out of a cannon. Just looking at each of their first 5 years as starters, Mahomes is miles ahead of where Tom was. In statistics, you have 38.4 touchdowns per season versus 24.6. Brady averaged 3,600 yards passing in each of his first 5 seasons, while Mahomes has never thrown for less than 4,000, eclipsing 5,000 yards twice. Brady did throw more interceptions than Mahomes, averaging 13.2 per season, while Mahomes comes in at 9.6. The last thing for stats, Pat has 66.4% completion percentage against 61.9% for Brady in their first 5 seasons. There's just no comparison to be made there. So what about championships? Brady has more than anyone else in the NFL ever. This is the one spot where Tom has the advantage looking at the first 5 seasons. Brady had 3 Super Bowl wins while Mahomes only has 2. I'll be curious to see if Mahomes can keep his pace of making it to the Super Bowl, because if he can, then there's a good chance he'll come close to catching Tom. As far as personal accolades, Tom is pretty decorated as a 3-time NFL MVP and a 15-time Pro Bowler. Through 5 seasons as a starting quarterback, Mahomes is already a 2-time MVP and a 5-time Pro Bowler. And all of this is great, but the biggest factor to me that Mahomes brings to the table is his ability to improvise. He's just as good, if not better, when the play breaks down and it's up to him to make something happen. Something that Brady didn't necessarily excel in. He spent nearly his entire career behind the stout Patriots offensive line, while Mahomes can seemingly make it work regardless of who is blocking for him and who he's throwing to. This creativity brings a different element to the GOAT talk, as there's one more layer to this discussion. It's how they change the game. Mahomes has made the game more fun for fans to watch with no-look passes, spin moves, and deep bombs off his back foot. 10 years from now, I believe he'll be in the same stratosphere as Tom Brady, and that's no disrespect to our current GOAT. The next GOAT receives passes from Mr. Mahomes on a very regular basis. Travis Kelce has been the talk of the league over the last year, continuing to put up insane numbers, #1 tight end in fantasy once again, and a top-rated podcast with his brother, as well as another Super Bowl win. The man was even president of the United States for like 2 seconds.
So I've been waiting for this.
Sorry.
And now, he'll be replacing Tony Gonzalez as the greatest tight end to ever play the game. Gonzalez played 17 years in the league, so similar to Tom Brady, a lot of his greatness comes from his longevity. Being able to play at a high level for that long means you're going to have several statistical records. Kelce also entered the league 3 years later in life than Tony did, so he's already behind the 8 ball on this one, but I think he's got the talent and situation to pass him in many categories. For example, Kelce is currently averaging 1,149 yards per season, while Gonzalez averaged 889 for his career. Kelce averages 7.7 touchdowns compared to Tony's 6.5. Then the biggest discrepancy is Travis's 90.4 receptions per year against Gonzalez's 77. If Travis can keep it up and just play until he's 37 years old, the age at which Gonzalez retired, then he'd come really close to matching Gonzalez's total stats in 3 fewer seasons. The championships are no competition, with Kelce having 2 Super Bowls, while Gonzalez, for all his greatness, could never get one. Kelce also currently has 8 Pro Bowl selections to Gonzalez's 14. There's a mountain to climb to catch the current GOAT for Kelce, but if he stays healthy and continues to be Mahomes' #1 target, then I wouldn't dare say anything is impossible. The other immeasurable thing with Kelce is the way he plays the game. He's so aggressive, but is clearly having the time of his life. I want my GOAT to enjoy what he's doing on the field, and Travis so clearly does. He's already top 3 all-time without argument, and given a few more years, he's going to come for that top spot. While Kelce has been doing this a long time already, I'm making a little bit more of a leap with the next player, as he's still on a rookie contract. Justin Jefferson entered the league and immediately set it on fire. He set the rookie receiving yards record, surpassing another Viking in Randy Moss, and he's only gotten better every year since then. He's coming for Jerry Rice in the title of greatest wide receiver of all time. With only 3 seasons under his belt, it's hard to predict his longevity or what his quarterback situation will look like throughout his career, but playing with Kirk Cousins is working out pretty well so far. When you're a receiver, you have to rely on the guy throwing the ball to put you in a good position to succeed. Rice had Hall of Famers Joe Montana and Steve Young throwing him the ball in his prime, so Jefferson has to hope that Cousins is the floor for who he's receiving balls from. In just his first 3 seasons, Jefferson has amassed nearly 5,000 yards and 25 touchdowns on 324 receptions. I don't know that he'll play to 42 like Rice did, but if he plays to 35 and maintains his yearly average, then he'll end up with 22,000 yards, 125 touchdowns, and 1,500 receptions, all very close to Rice's records, while playing 6 years less than Jerry. I believe, similar to Kelce and Mahomes, Jefferson will burn far hotter and brighter, but perhaps just not as long. He's already got 1 Offensive Player of the Year and only needs 1 more to match Rice for his career. Obviously, Super Bowls will be the biggest difference between these two, as Rice has 3 rings and Jefferson is on a team that hasn't won a Super Bowl ever. If he can get just 1 ring, avoid injury, and play as long as he can, it will ensure his spot at the top of the mountain. Jefferson just has a greater speed, athleticism, and ability after the catch than Rice did. If he could match Rice's longevity and luck at the quarterback position, then there's no stopping him. The last player I want to discuss plays a position with no clear GOAT. Every person you ask will give you a different answer. It's the running back. The guys at the top of the list are probably Emmitt Smith, Adrian Peterson, Walter Payton, and Jim Brown. They all have their reason for being there. Smith is the all-time leading rusher in history of the NFL, again attributed to longevity. Peterson holds the single-game record for rushing yards and is in the top 5 for every other rushing category. Walter Payton is second in career rushing yards, but did it in far fewer years than Emmitt. And Jim Brown was the most dominant at the position, but only played 9 years. Had seasons had 16 games when he was playing, he would likely be the top of the list by himself. So who could possibly join this group, or even surpass them, in a league that is so pass-happy and doesn't like to pay running backs after they turn 29? For me, it's Derrick Henry. It's not so much about the stats as it is about the pure domination. He plays on a team where everyone in the entire arena and watching at home knows the ball is going to him on nearly every play, and yet he still averages nearly 5 yards per attempt and over 80 yards per game, including the first 2 years of his career where he wasn't even the starter. He's evolved to be a strong receiver out of the backfield as well, and can run through or away from every position on the field. A man who is 6'3" and nearly 250 pounds shouldn't have 4.5 speed, and honestly, he plays even faster than that. If he can keep playing into his mid-30s and not lose too much steam, then he's going to surpass many of the guys on this list in many stats. He just has to find his way to a winning franchise to get even more respect. But for pure dominance at the position, he may not be a GOAT yet, but he's at least on the Mount Rushmore of running backs. I haven't done this in a while, so I'm saving it to the end. If you made it this far, please consider subscribing to the channel. It would mean a lot. And if this video gets to 50 likes, then I'll do a defensive version of this video. Thanks, and I'll see y'all next time.